try. And it gives you a chance to all get in here a little bit. And there it is. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Now, we got some exciting stuff coming up. Let's go over to the fun stuff. First of all, we got our meetup in Wisconsin. I've taken the time to personally invite people from Chicago and from Wisconsin with direct marketing in their description. So if you got one, come. But when people write and say this sounds really exciting, well, it's just really mostly some nice people having a beer. But next Thursday, almost a week from now, we should be having a good time. 6 p.m. Get the details at wdma.org. Now I went to this movie last night and I really liked it. It's very, very thought-provoking. Are we really in a simulation? Is AI consciousness right around the corner? Probably not. And it depends on what you mean by simulation, right? But here we go. Let's see. Let's see if I can get this to work.
Guy, I thought I had everything I needed.
Mondays, am I right, Joe? You said it, Guy.
But then I met her.
Put these on.
Oh my God! What are these, trick glasses or something?
Guy, there's no easy way to say this. This world, it's a video game.
It's a video game. This world is a video game.
And the guy responsible for this world was going to destroy it.
Are we talking about God? You've met God?
Yes, he's an absolute troll.
Trolls exist.
So anyway, I really enjoyed it, and I would give it 2 thumbs up anyway. But I really just do this to give you a chance to come visit, and we'll get to the meat of things now. The meat. And so here we are. This was a really interesting announcement, I thought, but we're going to start with how offline marketing works miracles with online marketing. Now, I was hoping, as I always am, I was hoping for some case studies, right? Do I always want case studies? Yes, always. I'm trying to get this thing to not make his head funny. Oh, I'm looking in the wrong window. That will make it harder. Anyway, and unfortunately, this guy's name here is down at the bottom, I think. Let's see who it is that wrote this. It doesn't say. It says somewhere, and I will find it, and I will attribute it in the show notes on the on the LinkedIn channel. So he basically said that a blend of online and offline is the most effective. Lots of stuff about studies and things that he doesn't cite. Direct mail is fast, reliable, effective with the least manual effort. Now, I don't know what, there's a lot of effort. I remember hearing Wayfair talk about all the things they didn't realize when they decided to do a catalog, most of which was that you had to make sure there was paper. In today's market, it's the same kind of thing. And 82% consumers trust print ads, and the response rate for direct printed advertising mail is 5 to 9%. I've rarely seen it that high. If that was your break even, I would say you're probably in trouble. Although I did hear from a cataloger last week that he was prospecting at a profit, which is always like the holy grail in the catalog business. If you could acquire customers and make money on the order. See, that's why the internet was so powerful, is that they were able to acquire customers at a profit. And the ironic part of that is that many of the .coms then thought that would last forever and didn't really build a robust system of branding with their customers. Didn't look for retention, said, we're making money by just acquiring customers. We don't need repeat purchases. And so then they skimped on customer service and they skimped on customer retention, and other people took those away, like Amazon, for example. Okay, so direct mail can be a way to get your name out there. I think that, I'm talking at several .com startups and restarts that we can do with mail. We can get you traffic in a very targeted, segmented way that will drive traffic to your website and give you a name and address that you can retarget and build an asset. And we can do it in a self-liquidating way. And, you know, it's hard to wean people off Facebook if all you do is advertise on Facebook, right? It's duplicitous, right? Remember that law that we covered the other day? Don't lie to people. Okay, let's go on, because basically there were no miracles listed. There were just suggestions. And as you can see, I didn't highlight many. Use a QR code. Yes, I like QR codes. And here's a bunch of the typical percentages that are unverifiable. Shopify launches a hub to help brands sell across borders. And this is pretty cool because it takes insights from nearly 1 billion Shopify orders automatically and applies it to each company's global strategy. Okay, and some of the challenges in this are complexities like currency conversion, language localization, providing local payments methods, duty, import taxes, and all this act as barriers to selling internationally and buying internationally, I should say so too. Shopify says 27% of all traffic to Shopify stores in 2021 has come from international buyers. And it could be bots, of course, as we know. They could be just visiting, window shopping. This Shopify hub automatically shows the correct currency and language based on the buyer's country of origin. So it basically takes your site and translates it into local language and into local, you know, and it may not be even a currency you know of, right? It may be, you know, I've heard of people trading goats and beads. So if you want to sell and, you know, and can take goats and beads, then Shopify is a really interesting thing to consider. When the internet first launched, everybody thought, well, we'll just be able to sell internationally as soon as we want. But Shopify helps merchants account for the extra fees, the duties, the import taxes, so it eliminates buyer surprise costs when the products are delivered. Really cool, I thought. And the reason I brought that up is because Mark Ritson talks about global marketing. And as usual, I always discuss whatever the heck Mark Ritson wants to talk about. But I was shocked at this one because, you know, I thought it was all going to be about, you know, how to maneuver your different countries into getting in line. He says, why won't the Germans do what they're told? When he started out, it was kind of fun. He said, when he started out, he was like the only branding consultant. He was teaching in London, and there just wasn't anybody else. And so he got to work with the big brands and the corporate headquarters of London and other capitals of Europe and New York. And what was always the complaint at the global head office was, despite all their concerted efforts and months of hard work, one or more of the countries that reported to them would not follow the plan. And they would produce their own commercials, and they would be cheesy looking and actually probably violate the brand standards, etc. And so, here he talks about, but then for some reason, and I'd like to know what this is, the Windsor Castle, because of unexpected events at the Windsor Castle in NW1. I don't know what NW1 is. I should look it up. But for whatever reason, he decided to move to Australia. And now he said, I'm at the other end of the org chart. You know, when people talk to me about going into marketing, I point out to them that you'll almost never make it to the president, CEO, or board of directors. The finance guys almost always get those jobs. They get promoted up because, you know, they kept an eye on the purse strings, and the marketing people are seen as kind of a commodity, a flaky commodity that we have to tolerate. And so you're always at the middle of the organizational chart. You know, you're reporting, when you're doing modeling, you're working with maybe an analytics or maybe a director of analytics or maybe a director of marketing. But the VP of marketing doesn't worry about it, and the CMO certainly doesn't worry about it. And so it's a different perspective. You got to take that into account. Okay, here we go. But his new life shifted to Sydney, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Shanghai. So all of a sudden, he was looking at the whole problem of global branding from the perspective of the local market, right? The individual country. And he'd become a country marketer instead of the global headquarters marketer. And what he found was that the global team hate the country teams, and the country teams hate the global teams. And both sides of the matrix have a valid point. And I encourage you to read this because, he's got good examples and stuff. And this is the way articles should be written. And I always enjoy what he has to say. He says most global teams are led by inexperienced MBA students who've never punched their way out of a paper bag in any country whatsoever. He says they mostly don't fly over to the country, or they fly in, do a 200-slide presentation, and fly out by 6 in the afternoon. When you're positioning, you worry about customers, competitors, and company products. Only one of these three things is the same from country to country. That's the product. Probably the least important of all of them. And so his first principle is never put anyone into global international marketing role until they have successfully served a few years in the country coalface. I don't know what coalface means. It's probably an Australian idiom, but I think it means, done their work in the coal mine, known how to handle themselves with country teams. It's very clear when somebody's grown up through the trenches. I also feel that way about consultants in direct marketing, that you should have some years in layout, design, copywriting, list selection, a lot of different venues before you start to think that you can predict customer behavior. Anyway, so you want to get up. The second thing is you have to get on a plane. You want to be a global marketer, get out of Chicago. I have a cousin who's a global marketer. She actually lived in Brazil for a while and learned Portuguese. She's learned Spanish fluently. She's really enjoyed it. Anyway, and when you get there, shut up and listen. Talk to key clients. I used to talk to, I've always worked best with catalog business owners because they cared about making money. They cared about growth. They cared about the long range. But, I used to say to them, why don't you go talk to some customers, just see what would happen. Go, next time you're going to a conference somewhere, go a couple days extra and just call up some customers and say, hey, you buy from us, you buy a lot of stuff from us. Could I stop in and see what you're doing, see what you think? And it's the easiest market research you can do. Customers appreciate it, and you'll learn a lot. And some did it, most didn't. And he says, getting horrendously shit-faced with the local team in a karaoke bar on the wrong side of town earns you about 400 more points than a Harvard MBA. Vic had a Harvard MBA, especially when just before 2 a.m. the local head of marketing turns to you and for 90 tantalizing seconds explains what's really going on before bounding onto the stage to sing Stand By Your Man. I'm not sure if it's you singing or not. I have a couple of karaoke stories. You do learn a lot. So then he goes into the long and short of it and basically says that you should do the long range brand building, 60% of spend. That should be handled by your headquarters. That should set the tone. But 40% should be allocated to the country teams so that they have some budget to work with. They have some capabilities to do specials, to adapt it to local conditions, to go after local competitors. And I think that's sensible. In mail, what I used to try to get, especially bigger catalogs that were run by accounting people, I would try to get them out of the square cost per square inch mindset, where they would figure everything down to the inch, and it tended to compress and compress and compress and lose the brand identity, lose the soul of the catalog. And what I would suggest is that they allocated a significant portion of their catalog, say 15 to 25% of of things that talked about what made your company special. I'll never forget when I first started buying from Land's End, them talking about working with the sheep farmers in New Zealand and that kind of thing. And it was really fascinating. It was well written. It was fun. And I don't think they do that anymore. Maybe they should get back to it. If you're out there, Land's End, I'd love to have a little lunch with you and talk about some of these things. Anyway, he goes on to give, like I said, give more details. But he says the long and short of it means more than just long and short. It means brand and product. It means tofu and bofu. And I didn't know what that was, but that's top of the funnel and bottom of the funnel. It means brand tracking and ROI. It also means mass and targeted. And he says the countries can do the targeting best, but the brand can do the global positioning probably best. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart.